In the final week for candidates to register for Taiwan's January 2024 presidential elections, it was the ruling Democratic Progressive Party that took the first step. Their candidate for president, Ching-te, signed up with his VP running mate, Bi-khim, in the first few days of registration. Here at Taiwan's Central Election Commission, presidential hopeful Ching-te is registering to get his name on the ballot for the January 2024 vote. Lai, of the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, is currently in the lead in the polls. He's the vice president of Taiwan, and he recently announced Bi-khim, that's the former envoy to the US, as his running mate.
我们两人也代表了信赖台湾的国家方向、地缘政治的变化、台湾的安全以及印太的和平，是国际瞩目的焦点。这一场选举，全世界都在看。
The main opposition parties spent most of the week discussing how or whether they could collaborate, talks that eventually dramatically broke down. We first take a look at Wen-je. He's the candidate for the Taiwan People's Party who ended up registering to vote on a solo ticket.
The recent chaos in Taiwan's local politics has all boiled down to this. The two main opposition parties will not form a joint ticket to go after the presidency in January's pivotal elections. Former Taipei Mayor Wen-je from the Taiwan People's Party, or TPP, has just registered his bid in a single-party ticket, right on the day of the Election Commission deadline. He's pulled in U.S.-born Wen-je Cynthia Wu as his running mate. She's a TPP lawmaker and former business exec, and hails from a family that runs one of Taiwan's biggest insurance groups. The pick may come as a surprise, as the party has really not discussed an alternative to a TPP-KMT coalition up until this point. There were some rumors of a potential alliance with Foxconn founder Terry Gou, but that also has not happened. Ke and his would-have-been alliance partner, Hou Yu-ih from the Kuomintang, or KMT, have both been individually polling behind the ruling Democratic Progressive Party's candidate, Ching-te. After a messy will-they-won't-they back and forth, the potential for a more China-friendly opposition coalition collapsed after a bizarre last-minute press conference the night before the registration deadline, which saw Ke and Hou openly bicker on live TV, signaling frayed internal politics over who would yield to serve as the other's vice president, and little chance for resolve. The question now is whether the very public breakdown of the opposition coalition will hurt voter confidence for both the KMT and TPP. Now, the people are the ones to win over here, as Taiwan's top seat is secured by a first-past-the-post voting process. And with less than 2 months to go, it's crunch time for the opposition candidates to get their campaigns back on track in their own separate ways.
While Ke and Wu were registering their ticket, the Kuomintang, or KMT, revealed its nominee for vice president.
With just hours to the deadline, Hou Yu-ih, the presidential candidate for Taiwan's largest opposition party, the KMT, or Kuomintang, has registered for the January election alongside his pick for vice president. Media heavyweight Jaw Shaw-kong, a talk show host with huge influence in the party. Now, Zhao actually quit politics back in the 90s to pursue a successful media career. He explained today at the press conference why he's decided to quit that and return to politics.
但是因为现在情况真的不一样，我觉得真的是临危受命，救亡图存。我觉得国家面临到这样的情况，两岸面临这样的情况。 我们的下一代面临这样的情况，真的是要救台湾，出来就是救台湾。
Now, Zhao's stepping in last minute comes after the spectacular collapse of a deal between Hou Yu-ih, the KMT's candidate, and another candidate, the former Taipei Mayor Wen-je of the Taiwan People's Party, a deal between them to join on one ticket to unseat the ruling Democratic Progressive Party. Now, after that deal has failed, it seems the KMT had chosen a rather different tactic. If joining with Ke was about appealing to the middle ground between the KMT and Taiwan's ruling DPP, then choosing Jaw Shaw-kong is about appealing to the KMT's base. He's a massive figure in the party. Like the rest of his party, favors stronger ties with China, but more broadly appeals to a KMT voter who remembers the Taiwan of 30 to 40 years ago, a time when the economy was booming, when Chinese identity was strong, and the KMT was in power. Now, that couldn't be in more stark contrast to the ruling party's candidate for Vice President Bi-khim, announced just this week. She's she's just left position as Taiwan's US envoy and is seen as close to Washington. Now, Hsiao and the DPP's presidential pick Lai Ching-te are polling practically neck and neck with Hou Yu-ih and the KMT's campaign, two starkly different campaigns, both in with a chance of winning, with Taiwan's election just 7 weeks away.
And what could have been a four-way race is now confirmed as a three-way race. Another political bombshell, Terry Gou, the Foxconn founder, revealed he won't be running in January's election. The iPhone manufacturing billionaire had been set to run as an independent. He gathered hundreds of thousands of signatures in a bid to get on the ballot. But his campaign faltered after China opened an investigation into Foxconn, with Gou making few public appearances in recent weeks. A last-minute attempt by Gou to broker an opposition alliance also failed. I spoke to local journalist Brian Hugh. He told me what all of this high political drama means for Taiwan and its voters.
It's not as dramatic as this usually. Taiwanese politics can be dramatic, and there are last-minute, unexpected moments that happen. I mean, to quote Wen-je himself, until 5:30 p.m. on November 24th, anything is possible. And so this led to a lot of speculation about what happened, and people were prepared for unexpected turns. But I don't think people were prepared for the media spectacle that emerged yesterday night, with the candidates bickering live on television about who should be the candidate, and this kind of clash of the egos between the major candidates. That I don't think has happened before, and I think it will be remembered for a long time to come in Taiwanese politics.
And with the opposition candidates failing to unite against the front-runner Lai and for the DPP, what do you think this means for the presidential race?
For one, that means the fundamental dynamics of the race remain unchanged. Lai is still in an advantageous position to win as long as he does not miscalculate or stumble in some way. And so the Pan-Blue camp has continued to remain divided in spite of polls showing that if they came together, they would stand a strong chance of overturning Lai. And so that points to these continued splits within the Pan-Blue camp that are very deep, that they can't come together, and they will continue to fight about anything and everything. I think the media spectacle that emerged, it's quite interesting because it reflects the trends in the past few years, where you have these very kind of politically incorrect or frank-talking politicians. And in certain venues, that works very well to draw and rile up a crowd. But when it comes to maybe establishment politics, it doesn't work out.
There was truly extraordinary scenes unfolding live on TV from all these major opposition candidates. Could you tell us how was it received in Taiwan? What do the Taiwan voting public think about this?
So particularly as we see the kind of rise of streaming and as it becomes faster and faster to post random content online, videotaped content, this is affecting politics in a way that's quite interesting. I mean, for one, it is a spectacle, a media spectacle. That's always been the case, even before the rise of social media. But then I think now this demand for example, transparency has kind of interfaced with politics in a very interesting way where it can become spectacle. I mean, for example, the candidates yesterday were fighting over that they all wanted, as they all claimed, fair and transparent elections, have this process be very open. And the question was whether they would negotiate secretly behind the doors or not. And that's another kind of contention between them. And so then that this could play out publicly in real time as candidates are not having a closed-door meeting to hash out details, but in a very public way while they're trying to perform for the public and grandstand and to come off into a superior position compared to their opponents. That kind of played itself out in the public in a very open way.
After months of back and forth, the stage for the Taiwan January 2024 presidential election is finally set. We now know who all the major characters are, and the show can really begin.